Welcome back. We are at day 5 of our Empathy Essentials course, this first week of this first 21 days of the Empathy Dojo training. So you've had 4 days. We're working on this compassionate, connected orientation. We're moving out of a constricted and critical orientation. This is the foundation. This is the baseline that makes everything else work. If you want your, my mentor was just telling me this, foundation of nonviolent communication. If you want to use that model, that specific model, the founder said, where people went wrong is they got all tied up in the methods and they forgot about connection. Connection is the most important. Same as we mentioned before, if you want your Taoist and Buddhist and Dzogchen meditations to work, same thing, this unconditionally spacious, compassionate stance, that's what makes all of this work. All of these life force energies of our emotions and what we visualize in Qigong and these tantric yogas and stuff like that, all of that, it's the living energies that rise up, and we want to make space for them with this open, compassionate embrace. And then they tend to work themselves out. You don't need a fancy visualization. You don't need some secret transmission that costs you an extra $10,000. You just need to open the heart further. And in that spaciousness, in this sort of magical container, all of these various diverse energies can find their way back to their naturally balanced state. The wonderful thing is our beings are meant to come into balance. We're meant to be these compassionate, open, playful beings. And we habitually get constricted, we get reacted. That can be a hard habit to break. But if you can start breaking that habit, the system wants to restore itself to balance. And so we can actually get some momentum and the thing will just regulate itself. It's quite amazing. So today, a little less theory, a little more practice. We're going to practice with resourcing. And the terminology for this, I borrowed from Peter Levine's system of somatic experiencing, which I've studied a little bit. I'm not a somatic experiencing practitioner or anything like that, but I really love the methodology. And this resourcing, this is kind of the last piece that I want to really import to you on this open, compassionate, connected orientation, which is that we have to set that up in our physiology and our neurology. It's one thing to say like, hey, don't come with criticism, but our criticism, like those responses, this is actually part of like the innate negativity bias that comes with being human. We can train it out of ourselves, or we can train a different pattern, but that's just built in, this sense to go into a room and oh, what's wrong? And that's our first impulse. If we want to train empathy first, we're going to have to work with the physiology. And really, that sense of constriction, of criticism, it's a protective impulse. It's the best we've known through a lot of our evolutionary history or some of our personal history. It's the best way we've known to make sure we keep ourselves safe. What we find as we study advanced communication, as we study meditation, is that impulse doesn't really keep us safe. It just eventually, left to its own devices long enough, it locks us all up. It locks our relationships up. It makes us less happy than we could be. And so we want to cultivate this other orientation of openness and compassion. To do that, we have to create a state, a biological, hormonal, endocrinological state of balance, of repose, and of peace. The great news is that when we do that, when we get a hold of where these dials are inside our own being, when we come into relationship with others, when we're having an interaction with someone else and they trigger us, we now have some tools that we can use to de-trigger ourselves. We can actually calm ourselves down in a moment. And that's what's going to be required for being able to use all of the other tools of compassionate communication, of empathetic relating, is that we actually have to be able to regulate our own state. It's kind of a bummer to say that, but as you've noticed, nobody else really is going to do that. I mean, occasionally, maybe you'll get lucky and you've got a nice saint in your life. Maybe you married a saint and they'll help you regulate your state, but still no one can do it for you. If we want our relationships to improve, if we want our emotional life to improve, we have to learn to regulate our own state. That's our responsibility because no one else can do it for us. So let's get into it, this practice of resourcing. Well, what is resourcing? It's creating a well and like a reserve of calm, nourishing, peaceful energies and states within us. So we're going to do a couple of methods for resourcing. And I really like this terminology. For me, resourcing is like, in my spiritual views, personally, there's this sense of like, oh yes, the source, this sort of like unitive experience, which is peace and compassion. And so it's like going back and settling in that source. Or you can say, according to some views of human physiology, our real state is primarily in the parasympathetic nervous system, this state of relax, rest, and digest. And then we're supposed to only go into the sympathetic nervous system, like for little moments, and then, oh, we come back. And so that could be a sense also of our source. But I also really like this because as we do this practice, we develop a resource. So we are resourcing and we're developing a resource that then is available to us later in other situations. So let's give it a try. You're going to practice this in a meditation pose or a relaxed posture. So I'm sitting up in my chair. You can do that. You can sit if you have a meditation practice. We won't be there long. You can even do this lying down or leaning back in that lazy boy, whatever works for you. Eyes can be open or closed. If they're open, try to drop the gaze downward, which helps the mind to relax. First thing we're going to do is use our breath. And this is a practice some of you have had from me before, but we're going to put it right in here because it really works. And this is a breath ratio where the exhale is twice as long as the inhale. And what you don't want to be doing is exhaling all of the breath. No, the inhale and the exhale are going to move about the same amount of air, but the exhale is going to take twice as long to do it. So let's say inhale for a 4 count, and I'll do my count, and then we'll give you time to do it on your own. But let's do a couple together. So we're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You inhale for 4, 3. You exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You inhale for 4, 3, 2. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's try a few at your own pace now, but with this ratio. So it's a 4 count inhale and then twice as long 8 count on the exhale. Keep that breath ratio going for just a few more minutes. And if you like, you can add a little intention, which is as you exhale, just having the intention to relax, just drop tension. You can even say release in your mind. That's a really nice tone to repeat in the mind. So it would be inhale, 2, 3, 4. And then as you exhale, it's release. 6, 7, 8. So you can just try that, a little intention of relaxing on that doubled exhale. Okay, letting the breath come to normal. Just notice how you feel after that practice. Often this will induce a state of calm or ease. Sometimes if you're tired, you'll feel sleepy because the body is now relaxed enough to let itself know that it feels tired. So that's okay. And then sometimes if you feel a little anxious or something, maybe you were straining around that breath. And so not all breath practices are for everyone. This one's pretty safe. So you might want to go back and just see if you can do it in a more relaxed way. So there's no tension. But for now, we just let the breath regulate itself. And the second aspect we'll do is called resourcing with a nature image. And so I'd like you to imagine a place in nature that you've been to that feels safe and opening, just has this sense of this quality that opens your heart. If you've ever been to a spot in nature that has that sense of safety or openness or heart opening. And bring that to mind. And then a very fun visualization. First, we just, as you're visualizing, bringing that to mind, remembering that, feel that sense of safety or openness, like really feel that as a biological somatic experience. What do you feel in your body? And then the fun part of this meditation I like is imagine your inner body was this location in nature. So like underneath your skin was your nature spot. And feel, what would it be like if your inner body was filled with that safe and open, beautiful, natural energy, just visualizing or feeling that landscape as if it was your inner body. And then we'll finish up with a little just savoring practice. So you can let go of the visualization, but just note any pleasurable, enjoyable, or relaxed sensations that you're experiencing. Whatever they are, do you feel them in your hands or your feet or all over or in your hair? Just notice. And then what do they feel like? Are they fluffy or heavy or light? What relaxed or enjoyable sensations are you experiencing? And just smile a little bit to them and really try to savor those experiences. Like, could you feel them 2% more, 3% more? Just really reveling in that sense of relaxation, safety, groundedness, whatever it is for you. And as you're ready, just feel that you've been nourished by this practice. And as you begin to deepen your breath a little bit to transition, feel that you bring all this sense of resource and groundedness back with you into the rest of your experience. Okay, so this is our lesson today on resourcing. And like we said before, this is going to build a resource for you. This is training your own nervous system, how to move out of negativity bias, what I've been calling this constrictive or critical way of being, and toward that sense of openness. Did you notice any of these pleasurable or relaxed feelings? Please put a note about them down in that comment section so we can, at least maybe your classmates can start to understand what experiences are coming up from these practices. How did that feel? Did it work for you? Was it too weird with the nature thing, or was that just right? How did that work for you? And then this is a practice that it's meant to start to develop this inner resource and really somatically encode that sense of that we're like walking through life with safety. We're walking through life as if we're meant to be here. We're coming from that place of goodness. And this is going to impact all of our self-talk, our intrapersonal relationships, and then it's going to ripple out into all of our interpersonal relationships. Almost like you were creating this, really, it's like there's this field around you. People walk into it and it's like, oh, they're going to get, it's contagious, this field of goodness. So we're developing this sense of resource. Your practice today, bring this back to mind if you can. As usual, do a formal practice if you want to. Take a lunch break, do it again in the evening. You could watch this or just remember it or follow the notes. Or just in any little moment, see if you can remember back. That's what that resourcing felt like. And just put that in your body, restore yourself to that sense of balance, ease, and openness. Do one of those extra long breaths every once in a while and just get yourself back in that state of pleasure, containment, settledness, and then come at your life from there and see what happens.